Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good morning. Welcome to the next lecture on elements of visual design. So today we will try to cover the following content. One is aesthetics of design. If you look into the entire design process, you have understood customer voice, then you will undergo convert the customer voice into engineering specification. Then what we will do is, from that you will try to make sure all the functional requirements are met, and then how do you go proceed? Proceed further is you make several conceptual prototypes, talk to people, and then moment the conceptual prototype along with the functional requirement are accepted, then the major emphasis is given to form, shape, form, color, texture. These are the four things which play a very important role. Though they are not primary significant parameters, but they are secondary, but still they dictate the sale, they dictate the pricing of the product also. Okay. So, for there I will show you, while walking through the lecture, I will show you several examples how does a product really impress, the shape and form impresses the sale of a product, and after this form and shape comes the packaging. That also plays a very important role. So, aesthetic plays an important role, but aesthetics only does not play an important role. Okay. So, next is principles of design we will see, then what are all the product message, then visual design, and then we will see elements of visual design. So, these are the things which we will cover today. When we look into any product, for example, today when we look at a product, if we do not have a feel for the product by touching the product, what we always get impressed is by looking at a television, or by looking at a magazine, or by looking at some of the advertisements which come through apps, right, apps or mobile phone, whatever it is, right. So, when we look at it, what are the important things? We look at the color, we look at the shape, we look at the size, right, and then we also look at the form. So, by looking at this, by looking at all those things, we try to have an imagination of just by representing the design, by giving this a proper color, proper shape, proper size, proper texture, we try to create an impression. When I was recently reading an article, the article says that after coming home from a full day's job, if your house can understand your mood and accordingly color the walls automatically, such that it can soothe your thought process and your comfort. It is only the color, shape, size, form and texture play a very, very important role. Okay. But I repeatedly reiterate my statements, this is important, they are very important, but they are secondary important, secondary significant, because the primary is to meet out the functional requirements. Earlier, people have a thought process saying that designer means it is only focusing towards this. But today it is not only this, you should have the functional requirements also to be met. Only functional requirement can a product be successful? No. The secondary parameters have to be also considered, and then we start looking into it, give importance to it and make the product more lucrative. So, when we talk about the aesthetic design, Aesthetic design is concerned with use of principles of beauty and psychological expectations of the user. For example, you can always have a handkerchief with red color. You can have it with orange color, but people would always like to have with white color or with a light color, because it's going to give them a psychological feeling. When you look at many country flags, certain country flags have a red color in it. So red color means they are aggressive, they are hot, they are aggressive, right? In the same way, when I try to put an ad and try to draw a chili and make it very reddish, that means to say it is going to be hot and spicy. I don't have to write any words, I just put a chili there and give the color. This color tries to create a psychological impression or expectation on the user. Okay. Beauty. Beauty comes from the shape, size, form. Okay. Factors affecting the aesthetic design is form and shapes. Okay. So, for example, I can draw a face like this. I can draw a face like this, different forms, right? I can draw a face like this. Okay. So, these are different forms, all are able to express. I would like this, but maybe you like this, and some people might like this. Okay. So, look at it. Recently, our government of India has created Swachh Bharat. So, Swachh Bharat was an initiative was taken by father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi. So, we don't put Gandhi there, we just try to draw his specs, and then we say this is Swachh Bharat. So, when we see this symbol, we always remember about Gandhi, our father of our nation. So, the form has a feel for it. Sorry, my thing was not very good here. Okay. So, it is like this, right. So, the form and shape plays a very important role. It gives you a psychological model making, and it is a ease for production, etc. It depends. When you try to do a shape, today I was watching a TV ad. There was a mixie ad which the body of the mixie was made like this. So, it looks like as though a person, and then it had a top like this. So, it was as though a person standing and his head there, and they have made it so nicely, it looks a servant maid. I am a servant maid for you. So, something like that. But when you try to manufacture, they have to they have to make into 3 different parts and look for. So, ease for manufacturing might be little difficult, but you can ease for production also depends upon the shape and form. For example, people draw egg. Making a 3-dimensional egg is not so easy. The radius keeps changing, and at the tip it goes towards a different shape, right. So, this is, if you start doing it, if you try to draw in 2-dimensional, it is easy, but when you draw in 3-dimensional, it is difficult, or making is difficult. So, people always try to make an egg and then they make a spear, because spear is easy to make. So, this factors affecting aesthetic design, form and shape, tries to have a psychological effect, ease for model making and ease for production. Then form transition. The product theme must be able to be established. For example, if you are trying to talk about a food product, okay, if you are trying to talk about a food product, it is good you start expressing a color of tasteness, a feeling of taste, or you try to put your tongue. For example, if you go back and look at Kisan sauce advertisement, you will try to see that. So, I would request you all to do this as an assignment. Look at Kisan, the sauce advertisement, the logo used there. So, it is form transition, a product theme. So, that means to say it is a food product, it gives you taste, and all those things are brought in. And then propositions. So, propositions are something which is very important. People talk about golden ratio. We will see what is golden ratio next. So, golden ratio is very important. Okay. So, whatever you do, nature follows some proportion. And if you see magnificent temples which are built, they also follow the same proportion of human being. They would have made it proportionally large, proportionally small. And if you look at it, it is wonderful. If you see somebody who have a beautiful body structure, or if you see a leaf with a beautiful body structure, if you see a shell, snail shell which is beautiful, a shell along the seashore, beautiful. If you see, nature would have followed this factorial design. Today we are trying to mimic and copy this factorial design into all the engineering products. Nature and in nature products and engineering products there is a difference. Nature product does not follow simple geometry, but engineering many a times follow simple geometry. Why? Because it is only to keep the ease for manufacturing. Okay. You can have a egg shaped item because this egg shape gives lot of protection for a liquid inside, but manufacturing this egg shape is not a straightforward case. So, that is why you see engineering products we have only two shapes basically, one is a line, next is a circle. So, you can say a tube, you can say a line and a circle are the basic shapes in 2D. Once you know to make a line and an arc, not even a circle, an arc, then all structures can be made, because everything is a combination of these two. Okay. So, we will see about golden ratio. Golden ratio is very important. People also argue beautiful structures, beautiful nature products, new nature scenic scenes are following golden ratio. Then color plays a very important role. Color plays a very important role. So, we will see little bit of color in the next slide. So, then comes the texture. Okay. Texture is also very important. If I give a glossy appearance, if I give a matte appearance, if I give a shade variation, if I can follow some Gaussian distribution in the color variation, it tries to give me lot of impression and it conveys many things through the design. Contrast designs you can have, you can say people would like to wear contrast shirts. I would like to wear a contrast shirt. I always try to have a chocolate green shirt which I used to wear when I go for a party. So, I know all others will have a smudgy color, but I will try to stand apart. I have a blue color, a peacock blue color. Okay. So, contrast. Second thing is, when I prepare PPT slides, I always prefer to have contrast. Okay. Then you should also have similar. Contrast also should be there, you should also use similarity. If you just keep always using this odd man out concept, it does not work. Many a times when you are in a group, when the products is in group, you have to follow similarity. Then graduation, then separation. These are the four things which are very important as far as texture is concerned. When you talk about graphics, the style in which they write also plays. For example, you can see a lot of things in movie industry, they spend lot of money in styling and writing the name in such a manner such that it tries attracting people. Okay. So, many a times when the style gives you a basic feel of the movie. Earlier days we used to write it in black and white, the new movie name, and in a very simple format. Today what has happened, we add color to it. And many a times what people expect today is, by looking at the name of the movie, by looking at the color which they have used in writing the name, and by looking at the font, people try to have an impression about the movie. For example, if it is a horror movie or if it is a thriller movie, they would try to have a red color or a black color, right? And when they write it, they don't write the font smoothly. There is a big science behind it. It's not just writing alone. There is a science behind it. The science is psychology getting integrated into the textual matter, and this is written there so that you get to feel. And apart from that, last we see the surfaces, lines which are used in real time. So, these are the basic engineering things, point, line to surface, surface to edge, edge to whatever, vertices, and then vertices to object. So, this also tries to play a very, very important role when we try to do aesthetics. So, let us try to talk about first color. So, the color are basically the classification of pigments, because today we talk about digital world. So, it is all pigments and resolutions we talk about. So, pigment color. So, they are divided as primary color, they are divided as primary, secondary, tertiary and fourth level, quaternary. So, here what we have is yellow, then we have red, we have blue. These are the primary colors. The secondary colors are orange, green and purple. So, how are the secondary colors formed? The secondary colors are mixed from the primary colors and you try to generate a secondary color. For example, you can have yellow, is now mixed in all the three colors. Okay. So, then red is mixed with yellow to get an orange. Okay. Red is mixed with yellow to get a purple. Then blue is also added to it. In the same way, you also have blue getting mixed with yellow to form a green. So, you look at it, how interesting it is. You had three basic colors. Now, I mixed yellow with red, I got an orange. I mixed yellow with blue, I got a green. And I mixed red with blue and yellow, I got purple. Now, I can have the combinations generated out of the secondary colors. So, what are they? They are russet, buff and centron. So, this is yellowish grey. Okay, this is reddish grey and this is bluish grey. So, how is it? So, you can have one here, you can have combination here and then you can have mixed here, and then green will try to have its color from here and then from here green, and then purple will be from here and here. You see now secondary colors are generated. This is nothing but yellowish grey, reddish grey and bluish grey, right. And then quartal, what you can have is you can have plum, olive and then sage. Okay. This is nothing but orangish grey, then you can have greenish grey, then you can have purplish grey. Okay. So, this is again a combination you can have. So, look at it, how interesting it. You try to take primary colors, you try to mix colors and then you try to have multiple colors of it. So, this is a typical classification of pigment colors. You can try to generate multiple colors. So, basically you start with only 3 colors. Okay. So, from there you start adding colors, and now it is interesting, when you look at your monitor, you will try to play with the grayscale level and the pixel resolution, pixel colors, and in each pixel you will try to have 3 or 4 levels or 2 levels or 3 levels of different colors. It tries to give you combinations. Through this you try to generate. So, this will try to talk about color. So, now let us see about textures. So, we will try to see elements of design. In elements of design, we will try to see textures. Okay. So, there are 4 elements. One is line, I told you already, form and color we discussed, color and texture. Now, we will try to focus only on texture. Okay. What is a texture? Texture is basically given, expresses the appearance or it gives a feel for the surface. By just looking at the surface, many a times we try to have a illusion saying that okay, the surface is smooth, the surface is rough, all those things. So, texture plays a very important role. So, texture, they can basically create variety of feelings with customers. Okay. There are two types of textures. One is called as tactile, the other one is called as visual. So, what is a tactile texturing? You can try to have a feel by rubbing the surface. With your hand / leg. It gives you a feel, that is tactile feel. It tries to give you a feel, right? By just looking at it, it will try to give okay, rough surface. So, rubbing the surface with your hand or leg, that feeling is given in tactile feeling. And next is visual. Visual texturing. Visual texturing, that tries to have a feel that you can see and experience. Okay. You try to have a feel, okay, feel in the sense feeling just by seeing, and here it is not by touching feel. Okay. So, your impression, okay, I will change this word as try to have an impression, that you can see, impression, okay, rather than feel. Basically, textures, what do? They communicate. They generally communicate the surroundings. Okay, surroundings, for surroundings, or the surroundings means it can be external, exterior, or it can also be interior. For example, inside a room, inside a box, inside a AC theater, inside a virtual walk, all these things, textures just give a feel. So, it tries to give you a communication like rough, hard or coarse texture. When we do, it can create a feeling more soothing or more, it can create a feeling more casual. Okay, rough, hard or coarse textures. When we talk about, when we try to put a smooth, soft, just opposite to it, or fine textures, it tries to create a formal feeling, neat, clean, all those things, a rough surface. Okay, so this creates a form feeling. So if you are, can you have a blend of this two, a composite or blend of these textures? Yes, it is possible, but it gives you a mixed feel. It gives you a completely mixed feel. Okay, so you are not telling this, you are not telling that. Now I will try to cover both texture and color feeling. Okay, texture and color, both I mix. Okay, feeling. So we will try to discuss that. So for example, if you have a object, right, an object, so this object texture and color tries to give feeling for the customer, like heavy, light object. So this in turn, in combination with the surrounding color, will try to have more impact on the object. So light and the surrounding color, surrounding color if you have, so that tries to give you a feel whether the object is small, large, and all those things can be thought of. So when you have rough surface, what happens is the light, when it strikes, and absorbs. Okay. When you have a fine surface, light strikes and reflects. So you get a glossy look, very glossy look, right? So if you look at this, if you just make the texture fine, so then it tries to take what is the appearance around the room and then start giving you a very good surface finish. So we have discussed about texture, color, feelings. Now we will try to discuss about the golden ratio. Golden ratio is 1:1.618. Golden ratio, it is nothing but a simple math which is followed whenever you try to give a form or a shape to the object or whatever product you develop. So the golden ratio is a special number which approximately equal to 1.6180339, and it goes on. So, we try to take only 1.618. Okay. So, one way to visually understand this is use a line segment. So, what we do is we take A, we take B, and this is nothing but A plus B. So, A plus B is to A as A is to B. So, this is very important, which we follow in golden ratio. So, the mathematical equation can be established. B by A equal to A plus B by multiplying, by cross multiplying, I will say, we get, what is that? B square plus AB is equal to A square, or we assume B equal to 1, then A square is equal to A plus 1. I take a value of B equal to 1, so then it becomes A square equal to A plus 1. Okay. So, solving for A, we get A equal to 1 plus square root of 5 by 2, which is nothing but 5, which is 1.6180. So, this is what is called as Fibonacci theory or sequence, Fibonacci sequence. So, in that you take two numbers, okay, and when you try to add these two numbers, you form the next number. So, 0, 1, 0 plus 1 is plus 1 is 1. So, next is 1 plus 1. So, this becomes 2, then it is 2 plus 1, it becomes 3, then 3 plus 2, it becomes 5. Then if you try to take a ratio, you will always get that 1.6. Okay, let me say, go ahead. So, 3, this is 8, then 8 plus 3 is 13, then 13 plus 8 is 21, 21 plus this 34, and then 34 plus this is 55, then 89, then it is 144, and it keeps going on and on and on. Okay. So, now let us see the ratio. What is the ratio? From here 5. So, it is where 5 by 3 is 1.66, then if it is 8 by 5, it is 1.6, 13 by 8 is 1.6, then it is 21 by 13, it is 1.61, and so on. So, you take 34 by 21, that is again 1.61. Okay. So, this ratio is called as Fibonacci sequence, and this falls under the golden ratio. Okay. So, if you try to form a figure, it is like this. You have 1 square, okay, then I divide this into so this is the next thing, and next what I do is, this is first I divide it into that ratio, then I try to add this as the next step, then I go to the fourth one, So, I can put a mat like this. So, this will be right. So, if you see what I have done is I have taken the ratio and I kept on maintaining it. The next step will be I will try to finish this here. So, first I divided 2 by 3, then 2 by 3, then 2 by 3, then now I have divided this 2 by 3, right. So, you can see that. So, every step what you did was you were trying to bring in the ratio and try to make things. So, the last one I can put it like this. So, this was first. So, this was the full square. From here you kept on going it, and finally what you see is now this will be divided. So, if you try to start drawing a radius, then you can see something like this will be evolved, and which you look at it, this will be a typical snail shape, snail shell shape. So, this is the golden ratio which we talked about. So, these are the things which we tried covering now. So, for example, product we saw about proportions, pi and factorial. This is what we discussed till now. So, I have explained all these things in this slide. So, let us keep moving. What are the principles of design? When we talk about the principles of design, first comes functionality, then comes conceptual. In conceptual comes modularity. Modularity is very, very important. Today, we are able to customize products because of this modularity. So, depending upon the requirements, people keep changing to meet out the customer demand. For example, if I have a shoe, or if I have a building, or if I have a kitchen. So, I build a shell as a kitchen, and then what do? I have several racks made, and these racks can be placed or it can be removed depending upon the requirements. So, wherever I need, I keep adding, and all these racks are cuboidal in shape, so that I place it as and when required. And the biggest advantage is in kitchen, we always have maintenance issue. If I want to throw one rack out and replace it with another new rack, it is done. And in a bicycle, if you see, there are several parts. If the pedal fails, the modularity concept is followed, only the pedal is replaced, rest all the cycle will be the old cycle. So, conceptual, we should have logo, modular design and themes. Then we should have balance in the color. We will see about it later, whether symmetry, asymmetry, radial. We should have this balancing of the object or the figure. Okay. Then it is the directions, emphasis, contrast. So, this we discussed about the fractal design. Then it is juxtaposition, unity, variation, pattern, discolored, all those things are the next principle to be followed. Rhythmic talks about contrast, similarity, graduation and separation. So, this all discuss about the color, ratio and proportions which go back there, and then finally it is going to be the lines, curved lines and surfaces. These are the principles which we have to follow when we talk about developing a design in terms of representation. What are the product messages? The product messages are form, follow, function. So, the form plays an important form, follow, function. So, first you fulfill all the functional requirement and then you try to do the form for it. The basic functionality etc. and concept has to be maintained. The lightness and the weight, we will see that lightness and the weight, that is nothing but when we look at the figure, we look at balance and base, shape, size, color. So, the lightness and the weightage which is given for the figure in the front end or in the back end is very, very important. The stability is also very important. That means to say the line balancing with respect to the background color or the used color. Speed and motion tries to talk about the direction, power and strength and dominance. These are all messages which is given. For example, okay. So, I put this and I say that the person who had this one, he is happy, and here I have expressed his emotion, and this is only a line sketch. If I would have blended it with the background color, this would have been much more interesting. So, I just play with one more Look at it, it is there. So, first it was happy. First it was happy. He is now calm and happy. So, now if I just change only the figure, only the form, and then I do see, you see he is much more calm, and then I try to put some few forms. So, it see the expression keeps changing. So, this is only a 2D. I have used a white background. So, the contrast used at the background and the form, shape, color gives a very good message about the product. So, this is very important. This is what we talk about in the product message. So, the form, we are talking about lightness and weight in terms of color. That is what we have written as balance, base, shape and color. So, visual design is a new method of technical knowledge developed rapidly by following a scientific discovery. It is not like people have their own and it comes off like that. Anything and everything, if you look back and see, there is a science which follows, and the science will back the theory, and so that is how the stability or acceptance is more common. Visual design is an applied art. It is an art whereby the principles of visual communication are used for effective design of a product. It is not that randomly you draw something and it gets accepted. You follow the visual communication principles. The basic elements which I have already discussed is form, content, arrangement, light and color. Form, it is the shape. Content, what are all present in the particular scene or in the particular shot is the content. And arrangement, whether something has to be put in the front end or something has to be put in the back end, what all has to be arranged in such a way such that it can look very interesting. Color and the light, all these things, the direction of light which is thrown on the object, its shadow which is created, that gives you an impression about when you see a photo, or that when you see a product, it is the impression you get. The emotion that drives visual communication are the emotions, which is seduction, conviction and inspiration. Certain things, what happens is you start remembering, see, why are the comics book more accepted? They are more accepted than your textual books, whatever the kids study. Today, Government of India has made it a point that the textbooks have to be more pictorial. So, this more pictorial tries to explain the concepts more easily, and then on top of it they have also tried to make this pictorial more impressive. If you look at the KG, kindergarten school children books, the color of the book will be very, very impressive. Individual photos will be impressive. So, it creates inspiration. It creates inspiration for reading the book. See, if you look at a movie which is 2 hours or 2.5 hours a movie, and then you look at an ad, the ad is only for 90 seconds or maybe 60 seconds. The ad will have impressive colors, will have impressive song. It is only going to create an impression about the product to the customer, and they get inspired and they are out there to buy it. So, inspiration is something very important. And in the same way, today what they have also found out is, the moment you have lot of color pictures in a given book, so then the students are able to correlate the picture color, the picture and the content to it very easily compared to fully textual ones. Okay. That is why you see cartoons are very impressive, the advertisements are very attractive. It is the impression, the emotion what they cover plays a very important role. The visual techniques, which is scales, cropping, dexter positioning, abstraction, magnification, orientation and typography, all these things we saw. Typography is nothing but making the font for the same thing. Okay, so some people write R like this, some people write R like this, it is typography. Okay, some people write G like this, some people write G like this. Okay, so it is a typography. Okay. And some people when they do, they write K like this. Some people write like this. Some people write like this. Okay. Or also people write like this. Okay. These are all typographies which people do, and by looking at it, when you put it at a proper background and other things, you can try to convey messages. So, the visual techniques, scalings, croppings, abstraction, magnification, orientation, all these things are visual techniques which are used. So, ultimately what we should understand is the principles of visual communication is used for effective designing of a product. So, when we talk about design, it is more about point. So, let's go very simple, a point. If I want to draw a line, okay, point a line. So, then I wanted to make a surface. So, a line is now closed. Okay, this is a surface. Now, I wanted to create it as a 3D image. Look at it. So, what did I start? I started with a point. This point led me to a line, and this line led me to an edge. Okay. When I converted it, I made a surface. Okay. A surface, I made it into vertices, vertex, and then from a vertex I made a volume. Okay. So, now I can replace this into a line, into a curve, a point, a curve. Okay. So, I can convert this line into a curve. Curve forms an edge or surface or whatever it is. So, the basic elements for drawing is going to be point, line and arcs or curves, arcs. Okay. Then you will have color, then you will have shape, size, mass and change. So, these are the basic elements of design. How effectively you use it and what you convey matters. So, this is an image which is completely made out of points. For example, you try to take a photograph and then converting this photograph data into a pixel data, then almost you will have this only a points. Okay. This is the most basic of elements manifested in the materials world with just slightly more gusto than the mathematical point. Atomic components of the visual work is the points. It is dimensioning also, it is perspective. A region for the focus from eye to the viewer, it is taken. More number of points creates a shape. So, that is what it is. Now, suppose I have a dot, so and I have a line. So, now this is 1 pixel, 2 pixel, 3 pixel, 4 pixel. So, you will have more pixels, you try to get higher the resolution, you have more clear the figures. So, this is all about the points. Next is lines. A line is a mark. A line is a mark made by a moving point, right, by a moving point and having psychological impact according to its direction. You see that according to the direction spiral. So, what are the directions? Directions can be this way, directions can be this way, directions can be vertical, right. So, I will put it as horizontal, it can be vertical, it can be circular. Okay. By moving a point in any of those directions and having a psychological impact according to its direction, the weight means your thickness of the line, color, whatever you use, and the variation in the direction and its weightages. The function in both visual and verbal ways, it tries to convey both. It acts as a symbolic language. Drawing is a symbolic language. Lines can be combined to give form and shape, which I constructed and I showed you. For example, a line, edge to a surface, surface to a volume. So, you constructed. So, that gives you a form and a shape to it. So, when we talk about colors, we discussed about primary color, secondary color, tertiary color. Some more which we are going to go through is color, generally terms for the quality of the color, hue, intensity and the value observed. So, these are the important terminologies which we generally use for colors. The general terms for the quality of the color is hue. What is hue? Name of the color like red, green, blue, etc. are hue. Okay. Then intensity, the chroma, intensity, strength or saturation of the color. Distinguishing the chromatic color from black and white is chroma. Okay. Next is saturation. Saturation is the degree of vividness of a hue from its concentration used with chroma is saturation. The color is saturated. So, you can see and when you saturate a color you get a feeling out of it. Then the last one is value. The value is the range from light to dark including white, grey, black. Colors can be evaluated on its scale 0 to 10. So, value is the range what you give and the impression what you take. Generally, higher values are considered to be light and lower values are considered to be dark. So, these are important terminologies. I would request you to please read and understand. Okay. So, hue, chroma, saturation, value. So, by this you can try to create an impression about the product to the customers. So, we stop here.